Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special meeting of the Board of Public Works Friday, July 31, 2020, last day of the month. Dr. Campos, do we have a quorum, please?
Thank you, President Good. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. We have Commissioner Garcia and Commissioner Good here at City Hall in the chambers. We are also joined by Commissioner Davis, who is here in City Hall, remotely dialing in from his office. And we are also joined by Commissioners Villegas and Colozo, who are both dialing in remotely from their home. We are joined also by our General Counsel, Mr. Ted Jordan, who is dialing in remotely from his home. Myself, I am here with you at City Hall in the boardroom chambers. President Good, you do have a quorum at this time. Currently, we do not have any speakers under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comments section. No speaker cards or comments received on any of the items for today's special agenda.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Campos. Having no speaker cards and no general comment from in the neighborhood councils, that brings us to our first item of business. Item 1, the approval of the minutes for the meeting of Tuesday, July 21, 2020. Is there a second to my motion to approve the meeting minutes? Vice second. President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, thank you all. Any objections? Commissioner Villegas?
No objections.
Commissioner Colosa?
No objections, thank you.
All right, thank you. Hearing no objections, those minutes have been approved. Okay, item 2, our annual election of officers. Fiscal year 2021, annual election of officers, the election of Board of Public Works officers, for the presidency and vice presidency. Dr. Campos, you want to go ahead, and I'm going to transfer the chair to you for this item so that you can conduct our elections.
Try not to touch his stuff. Thank you, President Good. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. As required by the City Charter and pursuant to the Board Rules of the City of Los Angeles Board of Public Works, Chapter 6, Election and Appointment of Officers, Board Rule Number 29 and also Board Rule Number 30, the Board shall elect one of its members as President and Vice President, respectively, by a majority vote by open ballot. These positions would hold the officer position from August 1st through July 31st of 2021. Commissioners, are there any nominations for the position of President?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a nomination.
Go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to nominate a man whom I know we all know, who is certainly one with extraordinary experience. I'd like to nominate Greg Good as chairman, and let me just briefly tell you why. He, one, has been gradually given areas of responsibility administratively in the mayor's office that matter, from his work as chief of legislative and external affairs down to his work working as the person responsible for infrastructure, where he had a direct relationship with specifically the Board of Public Works. And there were various gradual levels of responsibility he was given in the mayor's office. That experience will be invaluable to the work that we do in the Board of Public Works. We need someone who will be a liaison to help make sure that our directors, who've done an outstanding job on a day-to-day basis with the responsibilities that they have, but we need someone who can navigate the city's organization to make sure that we have policies, we have processes that are done in a timely manner so that we can continue to deliver the services that the residents of Los Angeles depend upon us as having. With Greg's experience, he is eminently qualified to deliver for us in that regard. Additionally, I like his background, not only in government, but he worked in nonprofit world with Lane, an organization that really needs no introduction. And in addition to that, one of the things that I think people don't know is before he got really into the public sector, he was an educator. And as I think about not only our responsibility in the infrastructure, but this upcoming challenge that all of us have in the country and in the state of California to achieve racial equity. Greg, as a teacher, taught in Inglewood and taught in Compton. I think that experience is critically important as well as we move towards helping to implement the mayor's Executive Order 27, racial equity, as California looks itself in the mirror to say that we want an inclusive government that includes people that look like Los Angeles. As we look at our racial equity system that Mayor Garcetti has put in place, I say to you that I know a man that I think is the best man to do the job. So, Mr. Chairman, I nominate none other than this graduate of UCLA Law. I wish it had been USC. But we know that his experiences will serve us well. They will be much needed to fight on behalf of processes we need for our directors to continue to do their job effectively, but also timely. So it is with pride, it is with honor that I nominate Greg Good as president of the Los Angeles Board of Public Works Commissioners.
Okay. I second that motion, Chairman.
I'll second it too.
So that's seconded by Commissioner Garcia and Commissioner Villegas
And me as well.
and Caloza. Thank you, Commissioner Davis, for your nomination, and seconded by Commissioner Garcia, Villegas, and Caloza. Commissioners, is there any further discussion or any commentary from any of the commissioners at this time?
I want to just say that, Greg, it's a pleasure to have you here on the board for the past month, your probation period. And so I gladly second Davis's motion because of everything that he's eloquently said about you. So,
Thank you, Vice President.
Any additional commentary from the other commissioners? Hearing none, we have a motion on the table by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioners Garcia, Villegas, and Caloza to elect Commissioner Good as President of the Board of Public Works. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Aye from Commissioner Garcia. I'm hearing confirmation from Caloza, Davis, and Villegas. Any opposition? Hearing no objections, no opposition, the motion is passed, and congratulations to our newly elected or re-elected President Good of the Board of Public Works. This concludes the nomination and election for the presidency. We will now move forward to the next officer position of the Board of Public Works. This is the vice president position. Commissioners, are there any nominations for the position for vice president?
I would like to nominate Aura Garcia to be reelected as vice president.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you,
Second
President Good.
also.
And second as well.
And if I could just say one thing really quickly. Our fire plug in residence, Aura Garcia, has already in my month here demonstrated an incredible appetite for work, appetite for the work, a uncanny ability to get along with, collaborate with, and lead really diverse stakeholders in a really complex landscape. And I have been so incredible. I was very impressed before I got here. I am even more impressed and completely convinced that your leadership is crucial for this board. And I am absolutely honored to nominate you to be vice president.
Thank you. Any further commentary, Commissioner Davis?
I certainly can testify of the great work that Aura Garcia has done, whether it's accessing Los Angeles or whether it's serving as the co-chair of our diversity committee on contracting, something that we're going to get to do more of. She has been there as the glue that has kept our meetings timely and on schedule. And I think that she will continue to make a difference in her role as our vice president. And most of all, I think we have to have gender equity in the work that we do and reflect the kind of inclusion that we seek from others. And I think that Aura Garcia does that in a grand way. And it was my honor to second the nomination based upon my great experience that I've had in working with her.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Any other commentary, comments? Hearing none, we do have a motion presented by President Good, seconded by Commissioners Davis, Villegas, and Caloza to nominate and elect Commissioner Garcia as Vice President of the Board of Public Works for the fiscal year 2021. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 President Good, can you turn on your mic? Oh, your mic is on.
aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, hearing no objection, the motion is passed and carried, and congratulations to Commissioner Garcia as Vice President of the Board of Public Works.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, President James, for totally messed up on my first order of business. So sorry. He is, I'm sure. Kevin, that was a complete mistake. I failed on my first minute of president. I'm sorry, President Good. Thank you for the nomination, and to my colleagues, thank you as well for having trust and confidence in me.
Thank you, Vice President. Thank you, Vice President Garcia. The meeting is now being returned back to the chair, the newly elected, re-elected President Good of the Board of Public Works. Mr. President, the first order or the next order of business for you as President is to nominate and appoint one commissioner as President Pro Tem. I will go ahead and move out of the chair and allow you to carry the next business forward. Again, that first order of business is to nominate the President Pro Tem. Congratulations to you both.
Well, colleagues, thank you very, very much. I appreciate, am gratified by and inspired by your confidence, and I really appreciate it. And thank you for the exceedingly generous and gracious words, Dr. Davis and Auda, Vice President Garcia. In my short time here so far, as I alluded to earlier, I have to say that I had very high expectations for this board and for the quality of leadership and work of my colleagues and the absolutely sterling stewardship of our departments by the folks on this Zoom screen right now and our general managers and the leadership of these departments. I had very high expectations, and those expectations, as well as Mr. Jordan, those expectations have only been exceeded. They've been shattered because this is and Dr. Campos, this is a fantastic organization to be a part of, and it is even more humbling now to become president once again than it was before. I also thank my predecessor, Kevin James, who, again, you will love hearing, provided such big shoes. He's FYI, he's already texted Vice President Garcia. He's very excited. And of course, Cindy and Agnes and Celeste and everybody on the team, Miguel and the great accounting department, all of the different offices, Erica, Rachel, Art Martinez. This is really a special group of folks. Dr. Campos, keeps the machine running with TJ. And so I thank all of you, and I'm very much looking forward to this year. I'm especially looking forward to this year because, again, the talent on this board is awesome. And as has been discussed and will continue to be discussed, frankly, over and over again in these chambers and in these deliberations, equity, racial justice, and the relentless effort to undo really the pandemic that was here before the pandemic that makes us all wear masks. That is structural racism, which is a many centuries old pandemic. One of our colleagues, all of our colleagues, are forcefully engaged in addressing equity and racial justice on top of the massive portfolios of work we have. In particular, Dr. Mike Davis, as our lead, as our racial equity officer for the board, is truly doing magnificent work in the execution of ED 27 in the Department of Public Works. His leadership already in establishing the African American Commissioners group and stewarding that work and setting an example for subsequent efforts on behalf of Commissioner Villegas and Vice President Garcia around the Latino Commissioners group, Commissioner Colosa with working on the Asian Pacific Islander Commissioners group. Mike, you've really set a standard with that, and I think we all are pointing to that.
Thank you.
You also set a standard with your experience. I mean, you know this joint, and you are the veteran, and we benefit immensely from all that entails. Your spirit, your commitment, your passion, your compassion, and your commitment to this city and to Angelenos reverberates through everything you do. Your commitment to equity and fairness and justice is not a choice, it is who you are. And so with that, I can't imagine appointing anyone else, although there's 4 unbelievable superstars in this group. But I would like to nominate and appoint Dr. Mike Davis to continue as President pro tempore for the Board of Public Works moving forward. And I would entertain any comments from my colleagues consistent with that.
I don't know if we can second that, but I second it if there's no second on that.
No need for a motion. This is the appointment, sole discretion of the president. This is his sole discretion to nominate and appoint.
I support him on that. I support President Good that nominated Commissioner Davis as President Pro Tem, and it's exactly, you are a model of our work ethic here, and I truly look upon what you do, Ms. Davis, because you do a really great job in making sure we understand how, not only the background, but how we're here and where we're going. So thank you for that, Davis.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel honored and I feel blessed to have the opportunity to work and to serve. So thank you so much for your trust, President, and I won't let you down.
I have no doubt. I have absolutely no doubt. Congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations, Vice President Garcia. Thank you. Congratulations, Commissioners Villegas and Colosa.
And congratulations, President Good.
Thank you. All right. I feel like all the departments are like, okay, can we do our presentations now? Sorry, folks. So with that, we will move to item 3, which is in all council districts. This is a revised task order solicitation, number 32, Somas and Associates, Bureau-wide Technology Improvement Strategies, recommending the board authorize the city engineer to issue a revision for TOS number 32 to Somas and Associates, increasing the budget authority from $578,176 to $1,028,547, including contingency, for continued support services for implementing the Bureau-wide technology improvement strategies. Our representative today is Kevin Minnie. And hi, Kevin. How you doing this afternoon?
Doing all right. Thank you very much, Commissioners. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Again, I'm Kevin Min. I'm with Streets LA's Advanced Planning and Grant Management Division. As was stated before, the report before you is requesting an increase in our budget authority to task order solicitation number 32 to $1,028,547, including contingency. Now, this task order is primarily to help the Bureau provide technology services for the implementation of various technology and data governance architectures, including our Enterprise Geographic Information System, our Bureau-wide Record Management System, Computerized Maintenance Management System, and integrations with various other systems that will benefit the Bureau. To give you a little background, this TOS is really, this revision is really one part of a very ambitious and larger piece of a puzzle of our Bureau's initiatives to modernize our operations and the ability for us to holistically integrate event planning into our programs using technology and improve workflows, and to look for ways to run our resources better. You know, we've been in the process of examining ourselves over the past year and a half, and we're ready to start implementing a lot of these systems. The COVID-19 crisis has also accelerated this quite a bit. We were intending initially to put out several other RFPs or TOSs to do each of these individual systems. However, there are a lot of concerns with our worker safety, ability for us to keep social distancing amongst our staff, and also, quite frankly, due to a lot of significant cuts in our resources in the response to COVID-19, budget cuts, and this pending retirement that may be coming up as well. So TOS 32 initially was awarded to SOMAS to help us assess, take a look at our Bureau's overall technology needs and provide an assessment to us and recommendations based on what they observed as our daily workflows, our future needs and current needs. SOMAS has done a very good job at becoming very intimate with our Bureau. In interviewing all of our managers, our upper management, middle management, field management, they've documented pretty much everything that we do in our Bureau, and they've also looked for opportunities of where technology could be inserted into our workflows to help automate processes, reduce paper, and look for ways that we could be safer in the way we do our business. Back in December 2019, we realized there was an opportunity to kind of kill two birds with one stone. So we requested the board to approve the first revision to this TOS to actually start the implementation of some scheduling services. And so that revision brought in a scheduler to our Bureau to augment our staff to start the implementation of a scheduling system for many of our operations. At the time, we weren't quite ready for the implementation of other systems, including our asset management system, which I'll discuss in a little bit. So this TOS here is really to continue SOMAS's services to us through the implementation process of all of our systems. As I mentioned, they've spent so much time becoming intimate with us and our operations. For us to go out and get a new task order to deploy these would come with a very high learning curve for a new firm to come in and understand what we do. And furthermore, with the COVID-19 crisis, there's an urgency now that is really critical for us. A lot of our current workflows are paper-driven. They're literally paper-driven from one yard to another, from the field to the office, from division to division. And there's a lot of face-to-face contact that we're trying to avoid. Getting these systems up and running would be a way for us to help protect our workers and protect the public. So there's kind of a two-part thing in this revision. One is for the services to implement the continued services of SOMAS, and then also to continue the scheduler for one more year, who has been very instrumental in making sure that our operations are running and we're scheduling our crews effectively. This revision has favorable business inclusions with increased WBE, SBE, and EBE. The expenditures are the same for MBE and DVBEs. We are intending to fund this TOS through a combination of general fund and many special funds that we have in the Bureau, with an emphasis to try to avoid general fund as much as possible. So with that said, I can answer any questions that you may have, Commissioners.
Colleagues, any questions or comments? Commissioner Villegas?
I was just taking my microphone off to speak. Thank you. And thank you, Kevin, for that presentation. It was very thorough. I think this is going to be it's long overdue, and I'm glad that Streets LA is bringing this forward. We know that, bringing our information that is trackable and, that is going to help us, collect data and basically just, advise us, for decision making. We've seen it now with our tree inventory. We know that data speaks. So I think that, the record management services, is going to be, it's going to be really well needed. And I'm looking forward also just to, seeing in the near future, the asset management system as well. So good work, and thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Nicolosa?
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions, but just want to echo Commissioner Villegas' comments about Streets LA and their modernization of their systems. It's really exciting what they're doing, and I know that this is something that they've been working on even before COVID. So it's nice to see that even though this is still in formation, they're at least getting ready to transform their systems in a way that, in this case right now, to protect worker safety. We definitely don't want people driving around with paperwork still from building to building. And I also did want to note, too, that I know Streets LA has been working with the Bureau of Engineering to make sure that as they're building their system, it's in collaboration with existing systems and data that we have now, which is really important in terms of making sure that we're connected in that way. But I just want to thank Mr. Minnie and the Streets LA team for bringing this forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. President Pro Tem Davis, any questions or comments?
No, the report was comprehensive, and I'm fine with it. Okay. Thank you.
Vice President Garcia? Okay. Kevin, could you just do me a favor? The older I get and the more Zooms I'm on, the less I hear. Can you just recap again what the top line actions will be in this implementation? What's actually going to be happening with this next phase? Because, by the way, I get the utility of keeping the same contractor, given the level of intimacy that they've developed with the organization and the sort of infrastructure of your infrastructure. But yeah, if you can just walk through what those next steps are, that'd be great.
Sure. I can give you a quick summary, and then I actually may have my staff, Kenneth Tang, who's on the line, kind of elaborate a little bit. Essentially, our bureau is as alluded by Commissioner Villegas and Colosa, is looking at a way to essentially integrate asset management into our visceral operations. And so asset management is really a life cycle analysis of how our assets function over the course of time, It also brings us a lot of very important data and when we need to do maintenance on our assets, how much it'll cost, how many resources will be dedicated annually in the short term and then also in the long term. This particular revision is specifically tasked towards some of the other systems that are the Bureau is trying to deploy, because asset management system is a huge system, and we actually will be coming to the board in a couple of weeks with a separate report with a lot more details about that specific system. So this really is asking for partially for advice from SOMAS, continued advice to deploy our enterprise geographic system, records management system, computer maintenance management system, and continuous scheduling support for our crews. And so they will also be providing advice in the deployment of our asset management system. However, we do have we did put out another task order specifically for that deployment. So we'll be coming to you in a couple of weeks with that information. Kenneth or Steve, Bradley, did you want to elaborate on that in any way?
No, or you were asking if your colleagues did? I'm good. No.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Great.
No, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. So this will end up being subject to the mayor's cost containment process. So would any of my colleagues like to make a motion to move this forward? Commissioner Villegas?
I'll move it, yes.
I'll second it.
Okay. And with the amendment that this will be subject to the mayor's cost containment. Great. All right. Any objections, Commissioner Colosa?
No objections, thank you.
Okay, no objections heard here. So with that, this item is approved with the amendment that it is subject to the concurrence of the mayor. Okay. All right.
Great. Thank you very much, Commissioners and Mr. President. Congratulations, by the way. Thank
you, Kevin. Have a great weekend. Okay, colleagues, that takes us to item number 4 in all council districts, a request for proposals for the fabrication and installation of full capture catch basin inserts and curb opening screen covers. Recommending the board authorize the director of the Bureau of Sanitation or designee to distribute and advertise the transmitted request for proposals for fabrication and installation of full capture catch basin inserts and curb opening screen covers. Evaluate the proposals and select the most qualified proposals or proposers based on established rating criteria. Negotiate a contract with the most qualified proposers. And 4, return to the Board of Public Works for authority to award and execute the contracts. Our representative from the Bureau of Sanitation today is Alfredo Magallanes. Alfredo, welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, President Good, members of the board, Bureau Rep, City Attorney, Executive Officer. My name again, Alfredo Magallanes with LA Sanitation and Environment. I'm an Assistant Division Manager with the Watershed Protection Division, responsible for TMDL compliance for the Upper LA River and Dominguez watershed, as well as the citywide trash TMDL and statewide trash amendments. And as the President stated, we're here to ask for authority to distribute a request for proposals. Actually, this is a continuation of the program that the Bureau has had since back in 2004, retrofitting catch basins when it comes to the trash TMDL. Just again, a little background on our trash TMDL efforts. The city as a whole is mandated by the MS4 stormwater permit to keep trash out of the storm drain system. The first TMDL was back in 2001. And again, actually, I've been around since 2001. 2/3 of my career has been in trash doing this. On earnest, the Bureau started this project in 2004 with Prop O, which funded I think Prop O was the first that funded this project, and it has brought us into compliance. I mean, citywide, we had to be in compliance with the trash TMDL, statewide trash amendments back in 2015, and we have successfully met that both through our structural measures and our institutional measures. This contract is on the structural measures, basically the catch basin inserts, which are your full capture devices that go inside your catch basins that the regional board has recognized as full capture devices. They're basically 5mm screens that go into the catch basins. We have over 10,000 of these installed citywide, predominantly in the high trash generation areas. We have over 38,000 curb opening screens. These are the ones you have seen on the street. Three gates that have 3/4-inch holes, fully retractable during a storm. So that has allowed us to meet the trash TMDL. This contract, like I said, we've started this. The initial program started back in 2000 during the 2000 Democratic National Convention. We installed several hundred of those. And like I said, we have over 38,000 of these screens and inserts installed. Many of them have reached their service life. Their service life is typically 15 years. So many of those have reached their life, and this is what this contract will do. We have estimated annually we need to be retrofitting 2,000 of these catch basins from now and forever. We need to keep this trash TMDL doesn't stop. Once we meet compliance, we have to meet compliance at 100%. So again, this contract would be retrofitting 2,000 annually. The proposed contract would be for 5 years with 1 year, 2-year renewal. The contract ceiling would be for $12 million for the duration, not to exceed $12 million for the duration of the 7 years. The business inclusion program limits are 9% NBE, 4% WBE, 2% SBE, 2% EBE, 2% DVBE. Like I said, this is basically a renewal of other contracts. In the past, we've been able to meet and exceed both the MBE and WE requirements. In the last, I'm going to say 17, 18 years, the contractors have been able to do that. Funding for this contract, it's coming from Measure W, the Municipal Returns Funds, Fund 60W, that we'll be receiving this year from county as soon as the city executes the transfer agreement. So, and that's in the works right now. Basically, that's it. I mean, if you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you, Alfredo. Colleagues, thank you for the presentation. Any questions from folks?
I do.
Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Alfredo, I truly support what this program's doing, and I do feel like we need them. We need to revamp them, and not only revamp them, but put new ones on some. So I think it's a really good effort throughout the whole city to put this back on. I truly support this. I do have a slight little comment that you might want to take into consideration, Alfredo. On your proposal, you have a mandatory proposal meeting that will be held, technically as of right now, will be held physically at your Public Works building in November. And that's fine. We're hoping that November we can already be at some point where we can be at stay-home orders will be lifted. But my suggestion would be that maybe you want to give your proposals an additional way, maybe online, maybe create a Zoom meeting, because we can't fully guarantee that by November the public will be able to enter our buildings yet. We just don't know. So I would suggest that if you just find, also create a Zoom meeting, that would be beneficial. And then that also goes along with the submittal of the proposals. You have folks coming to drop them off personally. You might just want to find a way or an outlet that will let you do it online. So a way to do this all online. Those are my only comments.
Thank you, and will do.
Alfredo, I also have a clarifying question. I think I know the answer because it would be so obvious, but you said the typical life of the catch basins is 15, not 50, right?
Yes, 15, 1-5.
Okay, it'd be great if there were some that were 50, but that's right. And so this is for 2,000 new catch basins every year for the next 5 years, again, plus the opportunity or option for renewal.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Any questions, Commissioner Villegas?
No questions. This is full circle. Since I served on the Propo COAC committee, that was the first project that we approved for the city of LA, just to be able to be in compliance with the regional board. So some of us have been at it for a long time, and 15 years now. I'm at the Board of Public Works, and at least approving these, these 2,000 potential projects to be able, or catch basins for an RFP. So it's nice to be on this side, to be able to see this work, and to be able to come back and review once you guys get the full proposals and see what's coming, and then to be able to obviously work on Measure W as well. So thank you. Thanks for bringing this forward, Mr. Magallanes.
Thank you.
It's terrific, Teresa, or Commissioner. President Pro Tem Davis.
Yes, I thank you for the report. On this request for proposal, you've mentioned that our plan is to have those vendors that are interested in it to come in November, I guess, to the office for the information necessary for them to move forward. Is this funded, is it local funded project? This is not a federally funded project.
No. This will be funded through their new Measure W that the city will be.
Oh, that's right. So after, I guess we'll do this after November the 3rd. I'm just wondering what happens if this is after November 3rd and we have a whole new policy in terms of moving forward in the way in which we do contracting. That's possible, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Because obviously now local funds obviously is under the way in which we do business as it relates to existing state provisions. But that after November the 3rd, if that changes, I don't know if by the time we get the information to the vendors, by the time we then come back to the board, it probably would be a different era, but that will, I guess, speak for itself. But there's a possibility that there may be some change, but that's not definite. And I was just pondering that. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Closa.
Thanks, President Good. I do have just a few quick follow-up questions. Thank you for your report, Alfredo. Just curious, was there any major changes that LA San made to this version of the RFP to improve this program? Just curious, since I know this only comes around every 5-7 years, if there's anything that we learned about these catch basins from the last iteration that we changed in this RFP.
Well, one thing that is different in this one is that we're asking all vendors that products, especially the full capture, be vector certified. So that's something new that came up. The vector district was concerned about vectors in our catch basin. So, and I know I'm familiar with a lot of the vendors. They have already gone forward and get that vector certification. So that's new. So we don't have to worry about vectors West Nile. The other thing is the state, as part of the statewide trash amendments, has mandated that they be certified by the state. So that's another thing that we are doing in this RFP. We're asking that they be state certified, especially when it comes to the full capture. The other thing that is new on this one that we have learned is we're actually incorporated now a new curb opening, a recycled green curb opening screen cover. So that's new. We were going mainly with the stainless steel or all metal. So that's a new thing that if it goes through, that you're going to be seeing out in the street. We're going to be using recycled plastic instead of all steel, and depending on the situation. That's one. That the other thing that we're bringing into this contract which is unique is we're gonna be using this contract to train our own LA sanitation staff, meaning eventually we want to be, the Bureau wants to be installing these. And this would allow for, again, local target hiring for crews. So on this contract, we're specifically asking that the contractor provide training for city staff. So that's one of the things that our director, Enrique Salivar, has asked, and that's what we're doing. I mean, we're going to be, hopefully at the end of the 5 years, I don't have to ask for the renewal. We'll be all set up and we can do it in-house. I mean, the installation, we'll definitely have to purchase the product because we're not set up for the fabrication yet, hopefully in the future. But those are some of the changes that new on this RFP.
Thank you for that. That was really helpful. Excited for you guys and the growth opportunities for LA San in terms of future work and the training that you're kind of planning for right now. And then just curious, how many contractors do we have right now in this current contract that we have?
In this current contract, we only have one. I mean, we've learned through the years to standardize products. I mean, so the Bureau does actually have a list of approved contractors. So I'm hoping we'll get all of them on board to submit a request for proposals. But we have, I believe, 3 approved contractors on the list that based on the standardization that the Bureau has gone. I mean, and again, meaning standardization, we've learned that we need to keep the product similar. Again, the fire department, when we started this program back in 2005, had issues with our screens being different. DOT had issues also with them. So we're trying to keep consistency throughout. And one way was to make sure all contractors were building almost an identical product. I mean, so.
Okay, that's helpful. And then just last question for me is this new RFP going out, this wouldn't include like maintenance of the catch basins, right? It's just the installation and replacement?
Yeah, no maintenance. It's just the installation. I mean, if maintenance is required, I mean, that would be part of the job. But no, I mean, we have our city crews doing maintenance of the catch basins.
Okay. Thank you for all this information. That was really helpful. Thanks, Alfredo.
Thank you.
Let me make a comment.
Vice President Garcia?
All I wanted to ask, Alfredo, is this your first time presenting to the board?
No, I've been here several times.
Oh, you have? I just want to say you did a really good job presenting today, and you answered every question very thoroughly. And so I don't remember seeing you here physically, or this is the first time, but I just want to say you did a very good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I do have one other quick question, Alfredo, which is, again, it's one of those where I know the answer basically, but I'd like to just understand how is what's the process and the I guess the rotation on the catch basin cleanups?
On the cleaning or the retrofits of catch basins?
The cleaning. Like that is, I know what's that process?
Okay, so on the cleaning, like I said, for the trash TMDL, in order to maintain the full capture certification, and that's predominantly on the high trash generation areas, catch basins have to be cleaned. It's mandated 3 times a year in order to keep the certification. So essentially the 10,000 plus that we have retrofitted with full capture, they get 3 times a year. All other catch basins are on average twice a year. There are some special cases in the city that those catch basins get, more than 3 times a year, depending on where they are, the production of trash outside. So, but in general, it's full capture, get 3 times a year. All others are twice a year, citywide.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Alfredo. Any additional questions or comments, colleagues? Okay. Do I hear a motion to move item 4 forward forthwith? Okay.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Okay, great. I think I've got a motion by Commissioner Villegas, seconded by Vice President Garcia and President Pro Tem Davis. Any objections, Commissioner Colosa?
No objections, thank you.
All right, no objections. Hearing no objections, this item is approved forthwith. Thank you, Alfredo. Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
President Good, I'm sorry, this is Ted. I had some trouble getting myself unmuted. Just one clarifying thing. The report indicates that when the Bureau is completed with the RFP process, they'll come back to the Board of Public Works for authority to award it.
Ted, we're not hearing you particularly well.
Oh, sorry. I'm a little technical glitch on my end. Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Better,
Yes.
Okay, sorry. The report does indicate that they'll bring the contract back to the board for award and execution. At that time, the contract is actually subject to the council's approval as well. I don't recommend that we need to make any changes here, but technically that last recommendation in the report, it will require council's approval as well when they bring that contract back because of the duration of the contract. So,
Okay.
for the record, I wanted to point that out.
Does that need to be reflected in the motion?
I don't think so, but I just, you're voting on it, so I want you to know that when that comes back, it's actually going to require that additional step. But that's a step that you don't do until they've come back with a proposed contract for you.
Gotcha. Thank you for that clarifying point, Mr. Jordan. Appreciate it. And love the headphones. All right. Friends and colleagues, that takes us to item number 5 in Council District 5. Get ready. This is a long one. Street closure extension, Metro West Side Purple Line Extension Project, Section 2, Constellation Boulevard between Century Park East and Avenue of the Stars. Recommending the board, 1, find that the board has reviewed and considered the information in the Metro West Side Purple Line Extension Project, Section 2, Draft Environmental Impact Statement, EIS, Environmental Impact Report, EIR, Transmittal Number 1, and the project final EIS, EIR, Transmittal Number 2. 2, find under the California Public Resources Code, Section 21166, and the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, Guidelines, Section 15162, on the basis of substantial evidence contained in the whole record, that since certification of EIS, EIR, there have been no changes with respect to the circumstances under which the temporary street closure being undertaken would require a subsequent EIR or supplemental EIR. 3, adopt the March 2012 Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, MMRP, Appendix 1 of the final EIS, EIR, prepared by the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, Metro, as it pertains to the construction impacts. Find under CEQA Guidelines Section 15091 that changes have been incorporated into the project which substantially lessen the significant environmental effects as identified in the final EIS, EIR. Further, find that there is no feasible alternative or additional feasible mitigation measures within the board's powers that would substantially lessen any significant effect the project would have on the environment. 5, adopt the attached CEQA findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations, Transmittal Number 3, as it pertains to the temporary street closure, and find that the economic, social, technological, and other benefits of the project outweigh its significant and unavoidable impacts. 6, adopt West Side Purple Line Extension Section 2 Post Notice of Determination, extension of temporary full closure of Constellation Boulevard for 7 months, Transmittal Number 4. 7, specify that the Metro Transit Division of the Bureau of Engineering, BOE, located at 1149 South Broadway, the board, located at 200 North Spring Street, and other relevant City of Los Angeles departments are custodians of the documents or other material which constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And 8, approve the request to extend the existing temporary closure of Constellation Boulevard between Century Park East and Avenue of the Stars for 7 months, starting, last Friday, July 24th, 2020 at 5 p.m., and ending Tuesday, February 23, 2021 at 6 p.m., subject to the conditions identified within this report, transmittal number 5. Our representative from the Bureau of Engineering today is Larry Hsu. Mr. Hsu, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome, and tell us all about it.
Sure. As you before I dive into the report, as you noticed when you were reading the recommendations, the original intent was to have this heard by the board prior to the expiration of the previous closure. Due to when we received this request, we simply just couldn't get it done to get to the board in time. So I'm asking for a verbal amendment to change the start date to today from Friday, July 24th at 5 p.m. to today, Friday, July 31st at 5 p.m. That would be in the title and also in recommendation number 8. Okay. Thank you.
Is your friend on your screen there to protect you from any ire that might inspire?
Slightly less distracting than my dining room wallpaper.
Or is that from the neighbors in Century City?
I'll read my report in now. This is for the Purple Line extension, West Side Purple Line extension, Section 2 project, which extends the subway from Wilshire La Cienega Station within the city of Beverly Hills westward 2.5 miles along Wilshire Boulevard, ending in Century City, which is in the city of Los Angeles. The Purple Line 2 project is scheduled to be completed in the fall of 2025. Metro and its contractor, Tudor Perini Corporation and O&G Industries, the acronym TPOG, are requesting to extend the closure of Constellation Boulevard from Century Park East to Avenue of the Stars for 7 months, ending February 23rd, 2021. This request before you is an extension of an ongoing street closure. The original street closure request was approved by your board on May 4th, 2018 for 9 months, ending January 31st, 2019. Since then, the board has approved 3 extensions due to various construction delays, with the latest ending July 23rd, 2020, which was last Friday. This is the 4th extension request for this closure. Constellation Boulevard is currently being used for tunnel support operations for 2 tunnel boring machines. The plan is to advance the tunnel boring machines northeast into Beverly Hills, then relocate the tunnel support operations to an off-street location, at which time the traffic can be restored on Constellation Boulevard and Century Park East. Due to oil wells that have been detected within the alignment of the tunnel, the TBM has not advanced. The requested 7-month extension will provide time to remove the oil wells, advance the TBM, relocate the tunnel support operations off of Constellation Boulevard, and restore traffic to Constellation and Century Park East. All major construction approvals associated with the work of this closure have been approved. As part of this request, a CEQA memo was completed to analyze the additional traffic impacts of the additional 7 months of the street closure. The conclusion of the memo was that this extension would not result in any new significant environmental impacts or an increase in the severity of the impacts of the previous closure duration. Metro stated that they are committed to providing advance notice and mitigating construction impacts in the Century City neighborhood in advance of construction activities and during the life of the project. Council District 5 has communicated that they support the peak hour exemption and the holiday moratorium exemption for the extended closure. LAPD noise variance permits for the construction and installation of the tunnel boring machine have been approved from July 24th, 2020 to February 23rd, 2021. And that concludes my report. I have representatives on the line from Metro, TPOG, and DOT to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Larry. Any comment or anything that folks from Metro or DOT would like to add? Okay. All right. Colleagues, questions and comments? I'm sorry? Yeah, Commissioner Coloso.
Thank you, President Good. And maybe this is a question for Metro. I think you know what I'm going to say. I mentioned this last time in terms of coming to us on the same day for these closures, let alone 1 week later. So I just want to know what happened exactly, and this is a later question for maybe the city attorney, whether or not there's any issues with this, since there's maybe, I don't know if this is just me, a technical issue with how this is being noticed, asking for permission after the fact. But I will let Metro go first.
Can I add something before Metro answers? When we saw that we were getting late, I had a discussion with the project director, Mike McKenna, and even though they didn't open up those streets to through traffic, they did offer to provide local access, some small accommodation. But your question is still valid. Thank you, and I hope somebody from Metro can chime in.
Hello, this is Zeph Farley. Can you hear me?
Yes.
By way of introduction, my name is Zeph Varley. I work as a Deputy Executive Officer for Construction for Metro. And we thank the board for hearing this extension request. The specific comment about, we do recognize that we're a week late for asking for this. In response to that, we have a partner that the Metro is working with, that's the Beverly Hills High School District, that has been partnering with Metro to determine exactly what these anomalies are that have been found on the high school campus are, and more importantly, how best to safely dispose of these anomalies, two of which have been determined by the high school district and by CalGEM, the permitting agency for oil well disposal. There's a process with which the owner of the well needs to go through to properly abandon and relocate, fully abandon to current day standards these oil wells. We have weekly meetings with the high school district to better understand how the progress of that work is going. And one of the things that gets incorporated into this full closure is the impact that abandonment of these two oil wells, two of which are in the direct alignment of our Metro Board tunnels, when that abandonment work will be completed. When we met with the school district in late June, we got the latest information from them as to when the second of the two oil wells was likely to be abandoned, and that work will extend through November 2020 this year. That affects how our contractor, TPOG, can prepare to do tunneling work, and more importantly, how they can actually get out of the City of Los Angeles public right-of-way and have the machine and all the work that supports the tunnel boring machines be conducted from within the tunnel access shaft on private property just inside the City of Los Angeles. So I do recognize that we are late in providing the report information to city staff. We tried our best to get the information as quickly as we could from our partners at the high school district to provide an accurate date in the board report for when we needed to have the extension of this closure run. And that is one of the, that's the principal reason that we were a bit rushed in trying to provide city staff with information with regard to this closure.
I appreciate your explanation, Zeph. I think for me, this is where, again, I struggle with some of these metro closures because, you had this meeting that you talked about with the school in June, and it's now, the end of July, right? So I think, I just want to make this point very clear is that this is not just a report to the board, but you're actually asking for our authority to do this in the right of way. And so, we take it really seriously in terms of how these things are noticed, that you're coming to us in an appropriate time frame so that we have enough time to, review this and look at it and consider, outreach to the community, everything going on with COVID. And, that allows us to do our job better as the Board of Public Works. And so, I'm going to continue saying this until I see some improvements with these street closures, but I really need you guys to come to us a lot sooner. And I know you said that you tried, and I understand there's a lot of circumstances that you just outlined, but again, you're also putting us in a tough place when this keeps happening. And I don't know if this is a question better for you or for Larry, but is this the last extension that we are going to be seeing for this project? I know you said this is the fourth time now that you guys are coming to us requesting this extension.
I'd have to defer to Metro on that. This is very...
Yes, so I'll respond to that. At present, this is, as we understand it, the last time we would ask for this extension. We don't foresee a reason to ask for another one at this time. We do understand that part of what this extension allows for is the machines to operate and get buried underneath the high school district to then shift operations off of public right-of-way into the private street. At present, the second of the two machines is actually mining. It's just about out from underneath Century Park East, so we are making progress toward that end. Barring anything unforeseen that could be encountered underneath the high school that we haven't accounted for yet, we don't expect at this point to need any further extension beyond the end of February.
Okay. And so for this past week, when your last extension expired, and the one that you're asking for us today with this corrected date of July 31st, has Metro been operating in the public right-of-way without our authority?
We have, our contractor was able to obtain a watch manual that would have allowed for traffic east of the closure that was approved last week, the one that closes Constellation from Avenue of the Stars up to the launch box. There is a tenant, Watt Plaza, that is immediately behind Constellation Boulevard that had temporary access that was closed by this full closure. I'll let Mindy Lake, our Metro Community Outreach, speak to how the outreach with that particular building has gone.
Well, just one second. I wasn't asking about the outreach. I was asking whether or not you guys are doing work in the right-of-way, which is construction, which I believe is you, right?
Yes. The short answer is yes.
And I'm disappointed to hear that. I, just hope to see an improvement on this. And, I guess my last and final question will be to Mr. Jordan, whether or not there's any issue with how this was agendized since the wrong date is on our notice.
You're unmuted.
You're on mute, Ted. Actually, he's not unmuted. We still
If you text me, I can read your answer.
We cannot hear you, Ted.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, thank you. Thank you. I apologize. My bad. I should not have used a new system for your meeting. The bottom line is we're good on the agenda. There's not much I can really say in furtherance to the other topics that you were raising, Commissioner. other than I concur with the recommendation here, but I do acknowledge that it's somewhat troubling. It's a 7-month extension. It's going to February 23rd, 2021. I do recommend, though, if you want, you can add an additional condition, which is just that you bring this item back to the board maybe 30 days out from that February 23rd date. And we want Metro and its contractor to focus on the project, not focus on coming to meetings. But given the history here, I do really think it may be appropriate, if you want, to have at least some type of report 30 days before the expiration. Because while they don't anticipate today needing another extension, they may already know 30 days before the end of the current extension, if you approve it, that yes, another extension will be needed. They may have an idea. They might not, but they might. And so if you want, and I picked 30 days out of the air. It could be anything. It could be a week. It could be 2. But if you want to have it maybe come back to you, and maybe it's just Bureau of Engineering. Mr. Shu can talk to Metro and then come back and say, at this point in time, we've asked them and they say no further extensions are going to be needed. Or we've asked them and they say, yeah, we have one. We're putting it together now. So if you want to have that little bit of a look ahead, and that way, at least as to matters coming to the board, essentially the day the extension is supposed to start, that might help you. I'm fine with the changes that we're making in terms of changing the dates. We're not extending it any further than what's in the report. That would be somewhat more problematic. But bottom line is, from my perspective, Brown Act and all of that, we're fine with the recommended changes.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan, and I definitely agree with the suggestion that you add, given this is the 4th extension and given just the number of issues I think I personally have with this, and so I would like to make that amendment, of course, after my colleagues finish asking any questions they may have. But I think I'm good on my end, President Good.
Thank you, Commissioner Coloso. President Pro Tem Davis?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Mr. Chu, the problem in terms of why we had to come back again this time was the communication by the multiple groups that we have to deal with, or what was the circumstances that put us to where we are in terms of the date today?
The reason they're asking for the 7 month is actually a construction. They couldn't proceed with construction because of something they discovered during the construction.
So as usual in construction, unintended, unexpected revelations occurred. So we obviously didn't anticipate this, and that's the reason for it, correct?
Right. I think they discovered something in the way, right, during this period.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And we have the support of CD5, is it? So yes. We have their support. They understand what had occurred.
I think they. All I know is that they concurred with the request for the extension and the impact to their holiday moratorium. Because this will run through the holiday time. I'm not sure how much explanation they received or understood from the contractor in Metro.
I'll step in here since it's sort of contiguous with outreach. CD5 was fully informed and got a complete tutorial on exactly what the impacts and the anomalies were underneath the high school that were preventing the contractor from moving forward, and created, excuse me, this sort of reverse domino effect. And I know that Commissioner Coloso has always wanted to know about the community outreach, and although this has come to you a little late, we have been speaking to the stakeholders that are the most impacted by this closure as soon as we knew that this was a possibility. So we got support from all of the surrounding stakeholders as well as CD5. Well,
okay. Mindy, can I have you state your name, please, for the record?
Yes, Mindy Lake, L-A-K-E.
Thank you very much, Mindy, for that. And I know that in construction work, unfortunately, we do have these things that occur. None of us want to get off a schedule. But then when you have unexpected revelations, I don't know what else we could have done given that fact at this point in time. But anyway, thank you for the report.
You're welcome.
Commissioner, I'd recommend actually, instead of 30 days prior, probably 60 days, even earlier. By the time, 30 days of the end of the closure, we're actually, right there already. And I think they will know a lot of information 60 days out. Anyway, that's my recommendation. Also, I would add that Metro comes to the board quarterly to give kind of like a status of all their projects. So they could definitely include their progress on this item as part of that report.
Yeah, that would be great. I appreciate it.
When is the next quarterly report scheduled? Sorry to jump into the discussion.
This is Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. We are looking at bringing back some of the oral reports. I believe the next one is scheduled for sometime in September. I would have to actually look at the exact date, but we are looking at working at bringing those oral reports back to the board relatively soon. Okay. But again, September.
Yeah, so you're going to have that report. You can ask questions then. And then, as Larry suggested, if you want to maybe have some ability to have a look ahead 60 days before the expiration of the February 2021 thing, that may help the board as well.
So for the board members, the last meeting in December would be Friday, December 18, 2020. Then we go on recess for 2 weeks. 30 days would put you at relatively at Friday, January 22nd. So January 22nd would be 30 days. December 18 would be the closest to the 60th day.
Thank you, Dr. Campos.
This is Zeph. From Metro's perspective, we'd be glad to provide an update either at the quarterly in September or the board meeting there in December.
Or both?
Or both.
Great, thank you.
We understand how important it is to both you and to us, so we're more than willing to make a presentation to keep you guys abreast of how it's progressing.
Thank you, Zeph. Commissioner Villegas, any questions or comments?
My apologies. I have no questions. I echo Commissioner Colos's sentiment. We take our responsibility, dutifully, and I understand that Metro's project is ginormous, and the work and the level of details that they have are really big, but just, a mutual understanding that, that these just need to come in a timely manner. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. I do have a couple of questions, and I just want to get some clarifying. So sorry, I know that we're looking for we found some kind of a solution that we're all comfortable with. However, I do have questions. Mindy from Metro, you said that that you guys knew about this beforehand. How long ago did you know about this? That you would need this extension prior to July 24th?
Well, like I mentioned, that information started coming forward in June. So until we got some more information from the high school as to what their timetable was, we then started reaching out to the stakeholders involved and let them know that this was a possibility. And we weren't exactly sure what the end date would be. And then when it became clear that the end of February would be the time that the contractor would need based on the schedule from the high school's contractor, then we started reaching out to them, I would say I'd have to go back and look at all my emails and calls, but I would say probably mid to end of June.
And at that time, did you also notify Bureau of Contract Administration?
That's not my
engineering. Larry, were you notified of this at an earlier time?
I'll have to ask my team here. I personally wasn't.
So what I'm just trying to get through is that I don't want our board to be a second thought when it comes to closing the streets. We are the stewards of the public right-of-way, and given that Metro is another government body and uses public tax dollars, Metro should take in consideration that this is part of the process. And so I just don't want our board to be like, we're second thought to this, and you come a week late to come and get a permit to close the street. And if I'm not mistaken, and please clarify me if I'm wrong with this, I think Seth said that there was some activity done in the public right-of-way this past week. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct.
So let's just say you are not Metro and you were another construction company, a private one or whomever. What kind of legal ramifications would this have if there was no permission to get on the public right away for a whole week? And it could be Ted that can answer me that.
I could give that a shot. I mean,
Okay.
We have two different enforcement arms. We have the Bureau of Street Services, who regulate the use of the public right of way, and then we have contract administration, who more or less oversee construction. So one of those two groups would be able to cite whoever is occupying the right of way illegally, and there are legal ramifications.
Well, we are, obviously this is something we all want to happen. We want this program to go through, and we don't want any more stalling on this, of course. But that's where I feel that Metro puts us in a corner, because we know we want this to move forward, but yet we also have we are a governing body of the public right of way, and coming a week later and doing construction without permission, I guess, right? Without permit, without the authority to do it, I would want to see what that looks like. And I'm not saying to move forward with that, but I just don't want this body to continue to be the afterthought. And so having said that and having asked that, I'm gonna ask two more questions. And was the community notified that this closure was going to happen and that their commute was going to be impacted?
Yes, the community's been apprised of everything during this entire period of time, and quite frankly, as I explained last time we were here, the particular stretch of Constellation between Avenue of the Stars and Century Park East is a very sort of a private block, and there's really only two buildings that are impacted by access from that street. And both of those property owners are at extremely low tenancy rates at the moment, and they have been fine with everything that we've had to do on Constellation during this time when traffic is so reduced.
So in other words, we were the last to be notified that the street will close on July 24th.
I don't believe that that's actually the case. I think this has been a conversation that's been going on internally with BOE and the contractor and Metro and the community as all of the documentation was being prepared to present to you.
But we are the authority board that would allow this to happen or not, so we should be part of the conversations as well. And it comes to us a week late, and there was already work done for a week in the public right away without a permit. That's basically where we're at, right?
Yes, I can provide part of an answer to that. I do recognize that working in the public right of way, or having rather the full closure extend beyond the extension date, is one of the topics that we have. Our contractor, as I mentioned, did get approval from DOT to implement a watch manual opening of a lane of traffic on the street for the tenant at Watt Plaza, should it have been needed. And again, I understand that, excuses aside, that only helps if the tenant requests it, and it starts to get into your question you were asking, if it was a private sector, what are the remedies, what would have happened if it wasn't one public agency dealing with another. We did at least attempt to prepare for that eventuality. And certainly, if in the event the board was not going to approve this, our contractor is prepared to open up a lane of traffic on the street, because we're no longer allowed to have the full closure. That is very much clear. It's up to the board. We appreciate the board's ability to continue to enforce the rules of the city. And in the event that it is not approved by the board, we will have our contractor be prepared to reopen the street, at least for the time being, until we can work through all of the issues. It may not be exactly, you know, a pretty situation for the first day, but it will certainly be safe to the traveling public. And yes, we do recognize that it may feel like you are the last to know. We have worked with city staff to provide information as best we could about a possible closure or an extension of this particular closure. But the most specific thing that we could do at Metro to help city staff with this closure extension is to understand the full extent of it. We may have had an idea at the end of June that an extension was needed, but the exact duration or length of that extension was what we were specifically trying to determine with our partners at the high school district. And that is, again, we recognize that we got the information late. We passed it to city staff late. It appears to come to you late, and for that we apologize.
Thank you, Seth, for that. I appreciate you saying that. What I just don't want is for this public agency, Metro, and everybody else to feel that we're just gonna be rubber stamping everything. We do care about outreach, we do care about our businesses, we do care about our public right of way, and we were put in this position to actually do that. So I would really recommend and encourage for more communication with our board. Thank you.
Commissioner, this is Larry again. I have Curtis Tran on the line, who is really more intimately in communication with Metro than me, and he could definitely provide a little bit more background in terms of what we knew when, if you want.
Thank you, Larry. I think we found some kind of common ground that we're all comfortable with. The 60 days prior notifying us, or at least keeping us up to date. Let's try that for now, and then I know that we don't like to see something like this happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Thank you, Metro folks, and Larry and Curtis. I don't want to belabor the point. I do think it merits repeating, however, that it's just not a tenable situation by any stretch of the imagination for, certainly for us to be getting this request at the last minute, certainly not retroactively, and for activity to be happening in the right of way without the approval of the City of Los Angeles and the Board of Public Works. That's not tenable. It's not acceptable. We are fully cognizant of the fluidity and the dynamic nature of this work. I mean, these mega projects are called mega projects because they're mega projects. And there are, if you'll pardon the phrase, a constellation of factors that are just inescapable in some cases. And certainly this project is rife with them. That said, and I do want to let you know, Vice President Garcia, that I was aware in advance of today that this was happening. I was not totally clear on the fact that the work was moving forward, but aware. And what I would ask of Metro and of BOE, because we're all in this, and we're all part of this, is, and I do so haltingly, but I would ask that when we, whether it's the Purple Line or any of these projects, when we anticipate, when we see an emergency situation emerging or coming, that needs to be communicated to us, even if not in a formal report. And everyone's cognizant of our Brown Act limitations. So even though I was made aware, it's not appropriate for me to then have deliberative conversations with the rest of my colleagues. So when we see something imminent that is going to be problematic like this, I would implore upon everyone, Metro and BOE, to go ahead and do an all hands on deck communication so that all of the board is aware, and at the very least, we get ahead of the surprise factor, which is, I think, at the crux of some of the upset that everyone's hearing and feeling here. I say that haltingly because I don't want to suggest that it's acceptable for the last minute stuff to be happening, because it's not. But there's some inevitability to it, and so and we get that. And Zeph, Mindy, I've not had the opportunity to meet y'all, but thank you for staying with us and talking through this. Larry and Curtis, likewise. We got to commit to do better, all of us, and be hyper communicative, hyper collaborative. And again, when you see a fire down the road, make sure you're getting in front of it and communicating with all of us moving forward.
President Good?
Yes.
I just wanted to make a brief comment. Sorry, I lost connection, so I'm just back on. I'm wondering, so that these things don't get repeated again, and so that we can be as helpful to our, sister organizations like Metro. Is there any way that we can possibly, put these on the agenda? I mean, prior to COVID, we had some of our bureaus come before us to share like upcoming issues that they were going to have, or street closures, like Streets LA would do that. We haven't done that recently just because of this new, everything that this has changed. But perhaps if we put this on the agenda just either once a month, would that help? I mean, this isn't the only project that's going to be coming before us for street closures.
Right. So, Dr. Campos, we've talked about, we're going to be bringing back oral reports. And I think up to this point, the oral reports from Metro have been quarterly. I don't object to just a monthly item that could be it could be a 2-minute item just with any red flags that we need to be aware of. If my colleagues are
even if it's a no report, I mean, nothing to report. I mean, just something that we at least have on our agenda that, I mean, we don't want to, chastise them. I realize that everybody's doing a lot of good work here, and, but we just want to be respectful to our board. That's the only reason that I'm thinking, is there some way we can help?
Yeah. I am actually comfortable with that. Dr. Campos, I know that puts some stress on the agendas, but I think we could keep something pretty light as almost like a check-in on a monthly basis. Is that?
Yeah, I just need clarity from the board whether this monthly meeting would be from the Bureau of Engineering providing status updates, or is this a spin off of the quarterly updates that are provided by the Metro group. So that's Richard Clark and his team that come in, or they used to come in, now they will go on Zoom to provide those updates. Do you see them as two different meeting types, or are you consolidating both?
No, it's not anything. I'm sorry, I'm just going to clarify my point of view here, and I don't mean to make double work for anyone. That's not the intent here. If it is already quarterly, so be it. Leave it as is. But I'm trying to see if we can have some type of a catch-all, right? So that we're able to be as helpful as possible for Metro.
Got it. And we can definitely move it up monthly. It's up to this board to decide.
Well, I don't want to ask Metro or BOE to do monthly sort of full reports like that what we're going to be getting on a quarterly basis. Did we miss over the pandemic? Did we miss a quarterly Metro report?
Yes, in fact, I actually pulled up the last quarterly report. The next one is scheduled for Wednesday, September 9th, so that would either have to fall on a Tuesday, September 8th, or the following Friday.
So there was one that would have happened but for the COVID-induced cessation of oral reports.
That is correct. We actually had two, one on Wednesday, June 10th, that was canceled because of the COVID, and then the March 25th, let me see if that actually occurred.
I would imagine not.
I believe that one did not either. So it was rescheduled from March 11th to the 25th, and then COVID hit, and that did not occur, and then the June 10th did not occur as
So
well.
then presumptively in the June 10th at least, we would have heard something about this, even if not to Zeph and Mindy's point, even if not with full information, because there were clearly some dynamic things going on, we still would have had a little bit of warning that this was that this was imminent, that further extension was imminent. Is that fair to say, Zeph?
Yes, that's certainly fair to say. In June, we might have had an understanding that a request for an extension was likely, and we were working out the details, but the specific details, I don't believe we would have been prepared in early June to come to the board with details for exactly how long the extension would be, but we certainly would have been providing the board information about the fact that an extension was likely to be needed, and we were working through the details of exactly what that extension was. So yes, we certainly would have provided some sort of update in June, but again, that's all I can say about it.
Okay. Thank you. So, I mean, I think that's illuminating. We are going to re-up and restart the oral reports. Commissioner Villegas and colleagues, I'm comfortable seeing if the quarterly, because I'm also sensitive to the workload of both Metro and BOE, not to mention our crew. If you're comfortable, Commissioner Villegas, with staying with the quarterly, then why don't we do that with the ongoing commitment that where red flags come, at the very least, we're going to be alerted at least, verbally outside of a meeting, just so we have some sense of imminence. Is that?
That works. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, you certainly. So, all right, then what I would like to do is motion. First off, we need to do an oral amendment to the report to change the date, the effective date, to July 31. Correct?
That's correct, yes.
So I would offer that amending motion, or motion to amend, or can you just do it, Fernando?
It would be a motion to amend the report.
So I will make a motion to amend the report to reflect the effective date of the closure to be July 31, 2020. Do I have a second for that?
Sorry, President Good, I also had offered an amendment earlier for specifically this project for the 60-day.
Yes, I was gonna give you that yes. But do we need to do them in conjunction, or do them one?
You can do.
Okay, so then
two motions on the table. You can put one motion that includes both amendments.
Okay, so then all right, then Commissioner Coloso, would you like to offer a motion for both the change of date and the 60-day report?
Yes, I'm happy to do the motion and thank Metro for working with us and for your partnership and for hearing us out today.
So we have a motion on the table from Commissioner Coloso to change the effective date of to amend the report, changing the effective date of the closure to July 31, 2020, and directing or requesting a report back 60 days prior, or status report, 60 days prior to the expiration of the authorized closure.
Second thought.
Okay, and we have a second from Commissioner Villegas.
It may very well be that our quarterly meeting on the 60-day, back from February, it may fall on the same timeline,
True. We'll keep them on
December or so.
Mr. Jordan, any, is this all comport with you?
Having said a hearing, do you have a question, President?
Uh-oh.
We can't hear you, Mr. Jordan.
Okay, I couldn't hear you either, actually.
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I may have been, I assumed the difficulty I had hearing was because of an internet issue on your end, but I think it might be on my end. So I heard the motion, but I didn't hear the question.
Just asking if you have any comments or concerns with our amending motions?
Oh, yes, I'm very much so.
But you're comfortable with the amending motions?
Yes, yes.
Great. Okay, great. Okay, so any objections to moving this item forward with our amending motions from Commissioner Colosa? President Pro Tem Davis?
I'm supporting.
Okay, great. Commissioner Villegas? Actually, you seconded the motions.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Vice President Garcia? Okay. Great. Hearing no objections, this item is approved forthwith. Thank you, Metro representatives. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Carl. And everyone have a great weekend and good luck with the work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Okay, colleagues. That takes us to item number 6. Contract transfer, Terminal Island Water Reclamation Plant, Advanced Water Purification Facility Phase 2 Microfiltration Unit Addition. Recommending the board execute the agreement to transfer the contract for the above-named project from Evoqua Water Technologies Corporation to Film Tech Corporation. Our representative today is Ethan Wong. Hey, Ethan, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you, President Good.
Thank you.
Once again, this is Ethan Wong with Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Engineering Division. The motion before you is basically to transfer a contract for our Terminal Island Advanced Water Purification Facility. A little background on that facility. Originally was constructed in 2002. We had a major upgrade to that facility in 2017, where microfiltration units were installed on the project. Basically, microfiltration is one component of the advanced water purification process, which basically clarifies wastewater to above drinking water standards. So in 2017, 6 microfiltration units by MEMCOR were installed, and as the plant has been operating since 2017, they have noticed there is a choke point in the process at these microfiltration units, and that for better processing the water and to increase the amount of water we're processing on a daily basis, we should add an additional microfiltration unit. And so a sole source contract was awarded by the board in September 20th, 2019 to Evoqua, who own the MEMCOR business unit that does the ultrafiltration and membrane bioreactor technologies. Subsequent to that contract being awarded, DuPont Specialty Products USA that own Film Tech Corporation, they bought the MEMCOR business unit from Evoqua. And so the motion before you, since the contract was awarded back in September 2019 to Evoqua and has been ongoing since then, and now they're is been DuPont has bought Memcor from Evoqua. We are asking to transfer the contract from Evoqua Water Technologies Corporation to FilmTech Corporation, which is a subsidiary of DuPont. If there's any questions regarding that, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions, colleagues? Commissioner Villegas?
I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Colosa?
No questions, thank you.
President Pro Tem Davis?
No questions. I'm fine.
All right. Vice President Garcia?
Sorry, President Good. I do, Ethan, question. I've been hearing, and this is probably not on this specific thing, but I've been hearing about our advanced water purification system since I've been on the board. Do we have any reference of when we will be able to go through this process and finalize it and start drinking water from the tap?
Hello, everybody. This is Fernando Gonzalez, Terminal Light and Water Reclamation Plant Manager. To answer to your question, we are already delivering a potable quality water for the Dominguez Cabarrier. And a little correction on Ethan's presentation is that a microfiltration was primarily installed on phase one back in 2002. And in 2012, 2 additional train units were installed for a treatment capacity of 12 MGD. Now, this skid that we're adding, it's to enhance the reliability of the plant. Because right now we are lining up customers for a recycled water. It's like I said, we have a potable water permit to distribute this water. And this extra skid will allow us to maintain treatment capacity per our current customers while we are going to replace the units that were installed in 2012. 2002, which have expanded the life cycle already. So yeah, the recycled water and delivery of the recycled water is already happening, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
Thank you, Fernando. Okay, do I have a motion to move this item forthwith? All right, I've got a set. Great.
Second.
I've got a motion from President Pro Tem Davis, seconded by Vice President Garcia and Commissioner Villegas. Any objections, Commissioner Colosa?
No objections, thank you.
All right, hearing no objections, this item is approved and moved forthwith. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Fernando. Y'all have great weekends.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to item 7, ladies and gentlemen. This is for all council districts, pre-qualified contractors list extension, municipal facilities and related projects, pre-qualified contractors. Recommending the board approve the extension of the municipal facilities and related projects pre-qualified contractors list for another 5 years and set the new expiration date as August 14, 2025. Our representative today is Alan Kawaguchi. Good afternoon, Alan. I know Mahmoud is here with you as well. Hello, gentlemen. Alan?
Good afternoon, President Good and Commissioners, Mr. Jordan, Dr. Campos. My name is Alan Kawaguchi. I represent the Bureau of Engineering for this portion of the homeless projects. Back in December of 2019, just roughly about 6 or 7 months ago, this board approved adding 9 additional contractors to this pre-qualified list that we used. And it was specifically to be used for bridge housing that we've been working on. And right now, just to let you know that as of today, we've completed 13 bridge housing projects and 1 refresh spot, and we built approximately over 1,200 beds for the city or the homelessness. What we're asking for the board to do is to continue the pre-qualified list for additional 5 years so that we can enter this and use this on the upcoming, we have a lawsuit right now that the federal judge is asking us to house roughly about 6,000 homeless people. So we're trying to use this contract as one of the vehicles to help us deliver the number of beds that were being requested. Any questions?
Thank you, Alan. Colleagues, any questions? President Pro Tem Davis.
I just basically have only some remarks about the work that we have done in the past on this homeless, and as it relates to this motion, certainly I support it. I mean, this work is just endless work, but I want to commend all of the city departments, particularly those within our Department of Public Works, who engage in this work. It's critically important. It seems like a thankless job, but it is important, and I just wanted to go on record of thanking them for everything that we have done, and I definitely support this motion.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Villegas.
She is connecting. She's having some connectivity issues.
Okay. Commissioner Colosa?
I don't have any questions, but thank our President Pro Tem for giving a sentiment and appreciation to our city team for all their hard work. I think we've been opening them at a record number the past few months. I feel like every time I looked on social media, there's a new bridge home opened every week. So just thank you. And I know this work is not easy, but you know, you guys are providing an amazing model for the rest of the country about how to do this transitional housing and how to build it fast and how to build it high quality. So thanks.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Vice President Garcia?
Nothing else. Just echo what my other colleagues said. Alan, you've always been doing such a great job and ahead of this, a leader in this, so thank you for that.
Thank you again. I also like to thank the whole board because they've been very supportive in trying to give us a lot of latitude in how we deliver the program. I think without their support, I think that we wouldn't be really as far as we are right now. So I really do appreciate the support. Every time I brought something before you, it just seems that everything has always been yes. And what else can we do for you? So I really appreciate all the support that the board's given me. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Commissioner Villegas, any comments or questions?
No, my apologies. We have like 5 Zooms in my house going on. Between my husband's presentation and me, like trying to listen, somebody inevitably goes off. Sorry.
No worries.
No questions. Thank you so much for all your hard work too. I echo my colleagues' sentiments. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, Alan, Mahmoud, I would just also echo, I mean, having been deeply ensconced in the Bridge Home launch and build out from the mayor's office perspective, and been involved, having worked with both of you on some of these projects. I mean, it's intense, and you guys have just done really incredible and relentless work. So thank y'all very much. Do I have a motion to move this item forward?
So move.
All right. We've got a motion from President Pro Tem Davis, seconded by Vice President Garcia. Any objections, Commissioner Colosa?
No objections. Thank you.
Anything, Commissioner Villegas?
No objections.
Okay, hearing no objections, this item is approved forthwith.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. And Alan, don't go anywhere. Mahmoud, don't go anywhere. We have item number 8. So, this is a motion from BOE, Pilot Homeless Housing Phase 2 projects, municipal facilities, and related projects pre-qualified contractors list, recommending the board, 1, authorize the Bureau of Engineering to negotiate a price for construction for up to 3 pilot homeless housing Phase 2 projects in Council District 2, based on a pre-qualification-based priority listing of the contractors on the pre-qualified contractors list for municipal facilities and related projects, and 2, return to the board to award up to 3 pilot homeless housing Phase 2 projects in Council District 2. Mahmoud is our representative today with Alan in his artillery. Mahmoud, walk us through this motion, please.
Good afternoon, President Good, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. As we continue our work on homeless housing as a result of the city and county of Los Angeles agreement to provide housing for approximately 6,000 city residents who are living near the freeways or on an accelerated schedule. So we are having 3 projects that are going ahead of others. We call them pilot projects because they're going to set a process, not only in terms of approvals and getting to construction, but also in terms of details of construction materials, the way we approach the design and solving the problems at the site. They're going to be streamlining our next projects or future projects. So through working closely with the Council District Number 2 and the City Administrative Office staff, our Bureau has produced some bridging document design, as you know, for the design, build, construction contracts for these 3 sites in City 2. And we are going to have additional sites, maybe on these districts or others, but these 3 sites, Satikori and Widset, Alexandria Park, and Chandler Boulevard, are going to be used as a pallet structures, and all of them are ready to go for pricing and starting a negotiation for construction. These sites, 2 of them are going to Board of Recreation and Parks for their board consideration of the lease schedule that they have with Caltrans to clear the land use on August 6th. The other project, the 3rd project, which is Sadiko projects, is going to the Board of Recreation and Parks for the same reason, targeted for that board meeting on August 20th. In order to expedite the initiation of this construction for these 3 projects, we recognize that there is an aggressive schedule to meet, and we really need to do something extraordinary or out of the box. As a result, as you know, the council motion that was approved in June, it gave us a way to bypass some of the requirements and make these projects go to construction as fast as possible. So it's very important for us to stay transparent during the process, even though we are going faster than usual. But one of the tools that we have available to us to increase the transparency through this process is these 17 contractors on the pre-qualified contractor list of municipal facilities and related projects. Just you approve the extension of time for it. So we are proposing your approval and already started some of the legwork just in the anticipation of your approval in order to rank and qualify some of these 17 based on their experience with the homeless housing and other experiences with the Bureau, with the city, with the county, in our area, in order to create a list of most qualified contractors within the list to work with, negotiate the construction contract with, and then come back to your board to get authorization for a work. We listed these criteria that we created, and 4 of them here are created as it can be expected. These are design build construction contract moving forward, and we like to know their experience, the list, our list experiences with design build contract construction in the last 3 years. We also like to know if they have worked with government agencies or through public projects through the last 3 years. We like to know if any of those projects they did was related to the housing. And also, it's very important for us to make sure if they have prior work with the city, they're being in good standing with the city in terms of meeting the budget, meeting the deadlines, and working through issues with the city. And last but not least, maybe the most important one, if any of them have experience with homeless housing within the county of Los Angeles, it's very important because they could hit the road running, and it will reduce the learning curve. So based on all this information that we'll receive from these contractors, we're going to create that qualified list and start negotiating these 3 projects, construction pricing with them, and come back to your board. And that's why we're here asking your authorization to do this, and after we're done, come back to your board, report back on our acts and process, and get authorization to award the construction contract. I will be glad to answer any question you might have.
Thank you, Mahmoud. Colleagues, questions? Vice President Garcia? No questions, comments? President Pro Tem Davis?
Yeah, Mahmoud, I wanted to ask in terms of the work. The work is a highly subspecialty area. There are, I guess, very few people who do the specific kind of building around the homeless housing that we've identified. But to what degree do we, or did we, or have we discovered the potential diverse kinds of businesses that do this kind of work? And then secondly, I would ask, is there any opportunity for training for folk to learn to do this work in the process of all that we're going to need to do moving forward?
Actually, yes to both questions, Commissioner Davis. The reason for that is there are plenty of engineering subcontracting work on these sites that are not that specialized, not that extraordinary. There will be opportunity for every and each one of these contractors to explore the possibility of bringing local community contractors, minorities-owned contracting companies, or women-owned contracting companies. So I feel the opportunities are there, plenty of them. And also want to mention this as well, that these are design-build contracts. So on top of the construction activities, they bringing a design entity into their team. So there we have extra opportunities in order to meet some of those criteria that we all like to meet, being engineers and architects and design professionals also that within the design communities, within the engineering architecture communities that are minority or women-owned business enterprises. So yes, and in terms of training, sure, of course, the city itself is gaining a lot of experience in this. Working with the new contractors, even new architects who are coming through this field in order to help the cities or help the communities, we can offer a lot of experience from the past projects in terms of not only the construction activities, but also the way we managing it, the way we approach to the materials, details, and sort of the all the activities from A to Z delivering this project. Yes to both.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Villegas, any questions or comments?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Colosso.
Thank you, President Good. Yeah, I did want to make a comment, and one, thank you to obviously Mahmoud and Mr. And Alan and the entire team for working on this, and to kind of follow up on what our President Pro Tem alluded to in terms of business inclusion, knowing that this is, one, such a priority for the mayor, for the city, for the region. At the same time, we also have another priority of racial equity that, the mayor is really challenging us to really look at what opportunities are available for the work that we're doing now to make sure that we continue to, again, challenge ourselves, see what tools we have to strengthen our programs. Since, and channeling Dr. Davis here, that our diversity is our strength when we have these types of projects. And so I really appreciate this motion and all the work that you have put into it, Mahmoud and Alan. And I would actually like to propose a friendly amendment to the query that you have asked these pre-qualified contractors if we can also add, and I know that this is, again, to strengthen it, but if I can propose adding an amendment that we also add experience with potential subcontracting partners who could qualify as MBE, SBE, EBE, WBE business enterprises as certified. So really it's just us explicitly stating what our expectations are, even though we know full well that this is, has business inclusion exemption from the city, but we want to make it very clear to these 17 contractors that our expectations are that they really try to go above and beyond to expand the pool of subcontractors and make sure that we continue to bring people under the umbrella so that they gain this expertise, to Commissioner Davis's point. So that's the only friendly amendment I wanted to add and comment, and think that I know that hopefully Mahmoud and Alan will be supportive of this.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Kellozo. Excellent point. We make sure that through ranking these qualifications of these contractors, we bring up this point that we're looking favorably, even though it's not required, but we're looking very favorably for them to explore all these opportunities that we know are there in order to make it good diversity on their team and make sure that the advantages that we can make through this money that's coming to the community for our minority and women business enterprises, as well as other disadvantaged business enterprises or disabled veteran business enterprises. Thank you so much for the point. I appreciate. Definitely we follow that direction.
Yeah, and I think that's, I would very much support that, Commissioner Colosa. I think it's it not only to add that question, despite the fact, and I think it's an important reminder that all of these vendors have gone through a business inclusion process to get onto this list in the first place. It really does, and I applaud that friendly amendment, Commissioner Colosa. It really does, signal to these contractors that this is a matter of importance, and I think it also gets to Commissioner Davis or President Pro Tem Davis's point, which is you really have, this is not an ABH site, for example. These are new types of sites with new types of sub-opportunities. And so it also, I think it puts a little charge in to say, you know, it would be really helpful to know this level of experience, and who knows what we end up finding, right? We could find that some of these folks really do have a lot of experience with folks who would be, with subs who would be, would qualify, whether or not they're in BAVN and certified or not at this point. It still sends a signal that you know, and invites that level of participation, and I think that's really great. So I would second that amending motion, Commissioner Colosa, and yeah. So does anyone have any additional questions or comments? Okay. So Dr. Campos, we have an amending motion from Commissioner Colosa to add a fifth question to the item, to the BOE motion. Commissioner Colosa, do you want to reread your question for the record?
Absolutely. Yeah, so it would be a fifth question to add to this motion, and it would read, experience with potential subcontracting partners who could qualify as MBE, SBE, EBE, WBE, and DVBE business enterprises if certified. And that was it.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Any objections to the amending motion? All right, do I have a motion to move this item as amended forward?
I'll move.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Right, so I've got a motion from Commissioner Colosa to move this item as amended forward, with seconds from Vice President Garcia and Commissioner Villegas. Any objections, President Pro Tem Davis?
None.
All right. Hearing no objections, this item is approved as amended, and we'll move forward forthwith. Thank you, Mahmoud. Thank you, Alan. Really appreciate you coming to us from San Francisco, Alan. That's
Well, Mr. Shu came from, Hoth, right?
You're building ABH sites up there too? Man,
I'm
busy.
I'm trying to help him out.
Busy man. All right. Hey, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us as always and for the great work. We really appreciate it, and have a great weekend, okay?
Thank you very much,
so much. Thank you so much, President Good, and Commissioners. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, bud. All right. With that, Dr. Campos, does that clear the desk?
Yes, you have. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is now adjourned. Our directors' meeting will start in 5 minutes, or our management meeting, excuse me.
All right. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we have a directors meeting?
A management meeting.
Yes.
Teresa,
Few minutes.